Hello everyone, my name is Shalani Finn and I am the account manager for Lux Public Relations. At Lux, our mission is to light the way in strategic communication as well as help our client communicate, engage, and build relationships with their stakeholders. And now I'd like to present to you our team.
Hi, I'm Toby Adedeji and I am the media director for Lux PR.
Hi there, I'm Sarah Ash and I am the social media director.
I'm Brittany Langford, I'm the copywriter editor.
I'm Haley Benson, I'm Director of Creative Services.
I'm Shaylee Diener and I am the Research Director.
So as you can see from our overview, we will be targeting a lot of main points from our campaign, starting from the research, going to the creative concept, and all the way down to our final evaluations.
Awesome, so we are super proud here at Lux to present our 2016 elk management campaign for Rocky Mountain National Park. We really believe that the center of the campaign lives with the visitors who support the conservation efforts that keep the park going. And we also think it's important that we acknowledge the dedicated staff that spend their time educating, preserving, and encouraging people to connect with the wilderness. Connection lies at the heart of what we do here. And so our plan encourages staff and visitors to connect with the wilderness symbol of Rocky Mountain National Park, that being the famous Rocky Mountain National Park elk.
Okay, so to our research plan, from our secondary and primary research, we were able to better understand the benefits, consequences, and the purpose of the 10-year elk management program. We were also able to understand the different perceptions that the community as well as the Rocky Mountain National Park staff have on elk management. So we targeted through our secondary research. We did look at the traditional media and the statistics behind that media. We also looked at the Rocky Mountain National Park website, and we also looked at their newsletter. We did look at their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. For our potential publics, we looked at the younger families with children in grade school. We looked at registered hunters. We looked at the people that live near Rocky Mountain National Park, and we also looked at wildlife conservationists. For our primary research, a survey was conducted and administered throughout Fort Collins, Estes Park, and was also administered on the CSU campus. With that, we did collect all that data, and then we did put that research out to the class so that we can use that. And we also did an interview protocol for the Rocky Mountain National Park staff, but it was unable to be administrated.
Okay, so to better understand our client, we just did a little bit of background research to understand the history and the values of our current client right now, or hopefully current client. So pretty much the park's mission obviously is to care for and protect and improve high quality visitor experience and to protect the resources in the park. It preserves natural and cultural resources of the park system and to preserve the enjoyment and education for future generations as well. And key attractions really keep bringing visitors in and then retain those visitors as well.
When we analyzed the traditional media, we found that the target audiences on the website were teachers as well as youth who are preschool and elementary age. We also found that there was a target audience of certain communities such as Native American tribes that have a partnership with the park. Also, through the newsletter and on the news and in the newspaper, it appears that Rocky Mountain National Park is targeting an older audience, perhaps married individuals who are more established in life.
So then we also took a look at the social media audience that's currently being targeted, as well as how they're being targeted. And so we thought it would be important to take a look at the differences between how the National Park Service as a whole is targeting audiences online, and then also how Rocky Mountain National Park specifically is targeting audiences online. So there's a couple just numbers as far as if you want to see the exact followers, that kind of thing. But what I did notice, or what that we noticed, is that the Rocky Mountain National Park Instagram was actually more popular by a lot than the National Park Service Instagram. So that was kind of something to take note of. And then of course with the audiences, as said with some of the other teams, most of the people that use these websites are millennials years kind of between there. It's a loose definition because it kind of depends on if one identifies as a millennial. But a lot of these millennials have already opted into receiving park updates and news about it because they've already liked the pages. And then in addition, these millennials also are assumed to be relatively knowledgeable about the outdoors and other experiences with the outdoors, like camping and hiking and stuff like that.
Some of the key messages that we picked up on from the traditional media were getting the community involved with Rocky Mountain National Park, as well as educating children and youth about certain aspects within Rocky Mountain National Park, and informing the public about the happenings that go on within the park.
And for social media, most of the messages had to do with encouraging users to visit the park, and then also using the Instagram and Facebook feeds as a way to update on current conditions, whether it be road closures, hiking trails that are closed or open, other things like that. And a lot of them also had a ranger sign off with a signature, adding kind of some authority, I guess you could say, to the posts, kind of giving people peace of mind that this is coming right from the source. And then of course the posts also encourage users to create and share a personal relationship with their favorite national park simply by posting pictures of their activities within the park.
A little issue overview. Rocky Mountain National Park Management Plan currently includes elk culling to reduce elk overpopulation, spanning 20 years starting in 2008 and ending in 2028. In 1969, a natural regulation policy with no elk management tactics that was used was implemented. Since that was implemented, elk numbers have increased and pivotal vegetation has declined. The park would like to have 600 to 800 elk on the winter range in 2015. No elk were culled in 2011 or 2012. Proposed solutions to the elk overpopulation include fencing, vegetation restoration, and elk culling. Did I say that? Okay. Sorry. Temporary fencing will allow key vegetation for habitat to have a higher survival rate. And then here's our force field analysis. On the left side we have the driving forces, and on the right side we have restraining forces. So the top two driving forces we had were obviously to help restore vegetation and then manage elk overpopulation. And then restraining forces, the negative part would be decreasing elk population, and culling can be seen as unethical.
Okay, so for our problem opportunity statement, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very text heavy, but in a nutshell, we thought that the current problem lied in the current communication strategies the park has implemented. We feel that the lack of communications towards the elk program could possibly hinder awareness and support for the plan. So we thought this was a tremendous opportunity to educate educate our primary audience about the benefits of the elk management program through social media, and then educational seminars with the RMNP staff through the Interpretation and Education Division. And then for our goal was to increase education and reinforce a positive presence surrounding the elk management program. And our target audiences were, for the primaries, non-visitors and visitors, and then for our secondary was the RMNP staff, specifically in the Interpretation and Education Division. So with that, we put out that survey that we did before the campaign to gain a little bit more information about the visitors and non-visitors. 46.8% were male and 46.8% were male and 52.8% were female. Their preferred sources for gathering information were Facebook, Twitter, radio, and Tumblr. And then there were 3.43 million visits to the park in 2014, which hopefully will increase as we implement our campaign. And then our primary audience objectives, there were a lot, but we figured these two were the most important, so we decided to share with you to raise awareness of RMNP's elk management plan by 50% by November 1st, 2016, and to create positive attitudes about RMNP's elk management plan by 20% by November 30th of 2016. And then our secondary target audience, so as we tried to administer the survey, we were unable to actually get results back from that. So we're just specifically targeting the Interpretation and Education Division, and our objective for them were to have 25% of all of the staff talk to others, visitors and non-visitors, about the elk management plan by December 31st, 2016.
So now we're really excited to introduce our creative concept. We chose to go with kind of a little bit more of a broader term, but we think that it's a good way to guide what we're trying to do here at LuxPR. So we want to create a personal connection for the audience with the elk. We have a responsibility to protect park wildlife and make responsible decisions about how we manage it so that future generations can enjoy it as much as we do. It's on us to protect them just as we would another human life. Therefore, Rocky Mountain National Park's elk culling plan manages life, not objects, and staff members are valued as the protectors of that life.
Alright, so for the message strategies for our primary target audience, which is visitors and non-visitors, we chose more of a informational and informational appeals and paid those as an emotional appeal. And we chose two of the most popular social media platforms right now, Twitter and Instagram. And I'll let Toby go into more detail.
All right, so the message strategy that we thought would best get our message across was controlled social media posts on Instagram and Twitter. The tactics that we would like to use is an event called Family Fun Day, and for Family Fun Day it would be held at Rocky Mountain National Park. There would be games, food, and a presentation informing the audience about the elk management plan. There also would be a park hike where we would encourage the hashtag #FindYourElk to be implemented on Instagram and Twitter by the target audience. What visitors could do is they take the hashtag #FindYourElk and tag it on a picture of the park or on a Twitter post, and it would just link that visit to the park.
Okay, so these are the examples we came up with. These are examples of the primary target audience, which is the visitors. Say they go to Rocky Mountain National Park, and during our Family Fun Day event, we tell them after our informational about elk management, hey, when you go out there and you see elk or you just want to take a picture, make sure you hashtag #FindYourElk. With that, we also did a Twitter post and an Instagram, and we implemented that Find Your Elk and about visitors that were excited to be there on the site with their family, or just excited that they finally just went through the presentation and saw some elk. So that was what we decided to come with through messages.
The message strategies for our secondary target audience are Rocky Mountain National Park staff. We chose more of an ethos and persuasive appeal. And again, we chose Twitter and Instagram for our social media outlets.
So the message strategy that we thought would also work best would be, again, controlled social media posts on Instagram and on Twitter. The tactic that we chose was a hashtag that says "We Run Rocky Mountain National Park." Basically, if a staff member would like to, they could take a picture of the park and just basically tell people, you know, they're the ones that run Rocky Mountain National Park. And Rocky Mountain National Park would add a section on the website for both of those hashtags to allow the audience to access the pictures and the information from those hashtags on a different medium.
Okay, so we run RMMP. These are the secondary target audience examples of Instagram and Twitter. These would be staff members of Rocky Mountain National Park, and they would implement that We Run RMMP in both of those. We basically did these hashtags off of the Find Your Park hashtag that is out there right now. So that's kind of the way we were going with these messages.
Over here. This is our planning matrix. We're moving into phase 3, which is our implementation of our campaign. And our planning matrix basically summarizes our publics, so visitors, non-visitors, and then our secondary audience of staff members. And it just details our communication objectives as well as concerns of the public. So an example would be that fencing might be an eyesore to the public. And then it also details our key messages as well as our media tactics.
So here's an example of some items that we have on our schedule. So the schedule would start on the 3rd of January of 2016. Our first objective for the schedule is to have 25% of the Rocky Mountain National Park staff talk to the visitors and non-visitors about the elk management plan by December 31st of 2017. The tactic that would be on the schedule is the Family Fun Day. We want to do an informational appeal to raise the audience awareness of the elk management plan. The second tactic would be the social media campaigns. It would start on the 6th of February of 2016, and it would run throughout the year. And the hashtags again would be We Run Rocky Mountain National Park and Find Your Elk.
As for the budget, we went through and calculated everything that would be needed for the Family Fun Day and as well as advertising up to that day. So we implemented that all in, and for a grand total, we got $1,831.57.
Okay, so for our evaluations, pretty much in a nutshell, we would just create a post-campaign survey to measure if there's been a raise in awareness and a raise in positive attitudes towards the elk management program. Some examples of questions on that survey could be on a scale from 1 to 10, how aware are you of the elk management plan that RMNP is implementing? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how beneficial do you believe the elk management program is? And from that, we can compare the answers from the post-campaign survey to the answers from the pre-campaign survey, and then we can gauge of how well we did with this campaign. And then for the output evaluations, we can count how many new followers and keep track of how many followers we retain on all social media over the 5 years after the campaign ends. Count the number of visitations at the end of each year for 5 years after the campaign end. Count the number of Facebook check-ins that the park receives after the campaign end. Count the number of hashtags that were used, and then monitor the number of negative conversations over the course of 5 years, and hopefully that number will decrease.
So I put this picture in because this is the park that we've all been talking about. This is the park that's literally in our backyard. We're so fortunate to have it right here. And so I want to ask everybody here to just think about how you feel when you see a picture like this. Maybe it inspires you or reminds you of a time when you felt at peace. Maybe you were able to sit and simply hang out in the stillness of the sunset. Or maybe it reminds you of your place and your role in a world where we are constantly interacting and sharing our environment with all kinds of creatures, elk included. It's up to us to educate and inform how we take care of the park's most important residents so that our children, their children, and generations to come can experience the same kind of feelings that we all experience when we see pictures like this. Thank you. Any questions?
Do we have any questions for Lux? Okay. And please help us up to celebrate.
Yay!
I was going to ask just a quick.
Yes. Sorry.
What is your definition of cull?
That is where isn't just hunters volunteer and then they go and they pretty much manage the population of the elk, and then they just keep it from overpopulating.
Manage.
Yeah.
They harvest them, they hunt them.
They shoot them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do realize that I think one of the biggest challenges, whether it made it in our plan or not, a lot of us talked about how ethically that's something that's hard for people to understand that aren't necessarily well versed in, say, like ecological matters. So kind of what we're hoping with the hashtags is that it's going to empower staff a little bit more to take pride in explaining that instead of having to worry about, like, well, when I try to explain culling, people immediately are like, what, you shoot them? You know, that kind of thing. So we're hoping that the online community will empower the staff in that sense of saying, no, we run this park, we know why we're making the decisions we're making, that kind of thing. And then we're hoping that just piggybacking off of the other hashtag from the national campaign going on, the Find Your Park, is kind of a way to unite Rocky Mountain National Park with the whole system. So
I thought that was genius.
thank you.
I want you to know that your hashtag "We Run This Park" is going to make my superintendent's blood run cold.
Cool. All right.
Target people.
Yes. That is exactly the intentions. Thank you. Thank you.